one of the Walt Disney Company's highest level movie executives has been walked out the door. Or has he? Let's talk about that on That Park Place. Hello, I am Jonas J. Campbell. I am an investigative reporter for That Park Place, and I am joined today by the ghost of Christmas Past. That's the one with the beard, right? That's Jolly.
Yeah, sure.
Hello, Mr. Culture Casino.
Hey, what's going on, Jonas? Thanks for having me today. I'm not sure anybody wants to hear some of the things we're going to say, but hey.
Well, there's some people that are going to want to hear it. The guy responsible for all the Disney live-action remakes has exited the building. A Disney shakeup. Sean Bailey exits as president of Walt Disney Motion Picture Studios. Searchlight's David Greenbaum takes over and will also run 20th by Anthony D'Alessandro and Mike Fleming Jr. This from a couple of days ago, but still good. Still good. Need to cover this story. Effective immediately, Walt Disney's president of Motion Picture Studios, Sean Bailey, who turned the company's animation vault into a multi-billion-dollar live-action movie business, is departing after 15 years on the lot. I got to say, he had the easiest job in the entire world, and he has apparently been let go from it. I don't want to fluff up an executive here. I don't want to diminish what he did, but a lot of those live action remakes, I can't see. I don't understand why Disney did them in the first place. And then we all understood at some point why Disney kept doing them. They were saying nothing artistically, but man, were they saying something in commerce. Culture. If somebody hired you to make live action remakes of Disney films, how hard would that be?
Well, it'd be really easy because, I would just make a shot-for-shot authentic recreation of the animated version and then sit back and, take a bath in money.
Yeah, and maybe you could start out by hiring some of the biggest visionary filmmakers of the day that are willing to play with Disney, like Kenneth Branagh or Tim Burton or Jon Favreau, and maybe make some good ones. But then after people understand what's going on, maybe then you start to skimp a little bit on that. Maybe you don't worry so much about letting voices be heard behind the camera. Maybe you just keep checking that box. They look closer and closer to the original, to the point where they basically have just a 3D animated version of the original Pinocchio design just prancing around there with Tom Hanks doing a pretty good impression of a Geppetto, huh?
Yeah, no, that may not have been the most successful of efforts. I would say that when you hand the reins over to somebody as talented and qualified as Jon Favreau or Kenneth Branagh or any of these other amazing filmmakers, I think you're going to have a winner. But you're also going to have a fairly faithful recreation of things, even if you're looking at Beauty and the Beast for the most part. I think larger issues showed up later. That didn't include anything to remain authentic to what had been presented before.
Right. At some point, they started focusing on diversity. Actually, let's talk about that here. In this article out of the New York Times, the man reimagining Disney classics for today's world, all about Sean Bailey. And this appeared in June of last year. Sean running Disney's animated film reimagining factory. What's funny is they put reimagining in quotes, even though this is definitely a fluff piece about Sean Bailey and praising Sean Bailey. The reimagining, as Mr. Bailey refers to his remakes, finds ways to make Disney stories less retrograde. Wow, that's a biting term right there. His heroines are empowered, and his casting emphasizes diversity. A live-action Snow White set for release next year, that didn't happen, stars Latina actress Rachel Zegler as the princess known as the fairest of them all. Yara Shahidi played Tinkerbell in the recent Peter Pan and Wendy, making her the first Black woman to portray the character on screen. I would doubt that, actually. I'm fairly certain someone has played Tinkerbell that has at least some level of melanin in their skin, but could be correct. I don't know. We want to reflect the world as it exists, Mr. Bailey said. Is this? I don't want to. Oh, they're using the word here. Right now, for every person who applauds Disney, there seems to be a counterpart who complains about being force-fed, quote-unquote, wokeness. It seems like it's about 50-50 there on whether or not people like them, which is not a good idea when you're trying to make $1 billion on a film. Culture, when was the last Disney live-action remake that you thought was a good idea?
I think probably I would have called it off after Beauty and the Beast, but, to be fair, once it looked like it was just a 3D animation, and that was even with one of my favorite directors, Jon Favreau,
Oh yeah.
that I would have said Lion King might have been that last step. Because at a certain point, I mean, you're just exchanging one form of animation for another, which is oftentimes why a lot of I'm not interested in the live action remakes. It's just, if you're gonna do it in live action, do it in live action and, figure out a way to limit the amount of CG characters that appear.
Yeah, I,
And make sure that they actually look like what they did in the animation, because in the case of the most recent Little Mermaid, that was, what do you call it? Nightmare fuel?
yeah, I didn't end up seeing the Little Mermaid. I've heard it described as as a bit problematic as the visuals go. Apparently, there is a sun that is underneath the water. It's behind the underwater castle, which if you're going for fantastic visuals, maybe there is a world in which those rules can be accepted. But it's a little bit problematic for most people. But that being said, it is a movie about a fish lady who goes against an octopus lady and tries to save her father, the big fish man. Uh, Maybe we can get into a little bit of this, though. However, from that New York Times piece, Mufasa, the Lion King, a photorealistic prequel directed by Barry Jenkins, the Oscar-winning Moonlight screenwriter, is scheduled for release in 2024. Mr. Bailey said the Lion King could expand into a big epic saga like the Star Wars franchise. There's a lot of room to run if we can find the stories. This it would have had to have been an original story, unless I'm willing to bet we're going to find out what the origin of Scar's Scar is in that film. Just in the same way that in Jon Favreau's Jungle Book, we found what the origin of Mowgli's red underpants were. Details that we don't really need to know.
Are you sure?
Here. Yeah,
Oh, okay.
yeah. Oh well. I mean, I'm not sure that we'll find the scar. We'll find out about the scar, but yes, we did find the origin of Mowgli's underpants.
Oh, well, then
Uh,
we certainly would get the story of the scar.
and here's one that's fascinating to me. Restarting the 5-film Pirates of the Caribbean series is another priority. Although nothing official has been announced, we think we have a really good, exciting story that honors the film that have come before, but also have something new to say, says Mr. Bailey. The other thing that came up is that the job that he was trying to get at Netflix, Dan Lin ended up getting that job at Netflix. So
Oh, wow.
that's tough luck for Mr. Bailey here, and the fact that he doesn't have everything lined up while trying to exit the company. I do believe that this guy has been fired. Um,
I look, he's getting a, like, what do you call it? An exit prize or whatever,
oh
a
yeah, yeah,
parachute on the way out the door.
yes,
So,
and
yeah.
can you elaborate on some of that
Oh,
culture?
certainly. Yeah. Actually, he is going to be the primary, if not the chief executive producer of the new Tron film, or as I call it, Tron 3.
Trent.
And yeah, Tron. It'll be that'll, I think, will be his last gig, and then he's done. And look, you look at what he was managed to do at the beginning of his tenure to what he's doing now, towards the end, and you could see that it was all basically created out of the need to service a political agenda, which I think is largely why the material that he developed later was so bad.
Yeah. I think that this is probably a good step forward for Disney, other than the idea that everything is going to be under these 20th century executives. I wonder if this is actually the end of a lot of Disney branding on live action films. Even as Disney dilutes, it sounds like they're handing this over to the executives who greenlight things like Poor Things, which I'm not really a fan of that idea. By the way, found out that there's a warning on the beginning of Poor Things that says, "Don't, guys, we know that you've signed up to watch this R-rated film, but we need to make sure you know there are depictions of tobacco in this film."
That's the least of its issues, but okay.
Yes, I've not watched this film, but I've heard many horrifying things about it. So I want to say best of luck to Sean Bailey. I hope that your next job is as simple to line up your hit machine as it was here at the
I
Walt Disney Company.
I look
Guys,
forward to, I look forward to his endeavors with the savings and loan business.
yeah, Yep. That being said, for those of you who are watching this video, like it if you like this video. If you know someone who is interested in the machinations at the top of the Walt Disney Company, please consider sharing this out. Do you think that Bob Iger is going to cite this example as him rejuvenating the creative business at the movie studios for Walt Disney? I think that might be where he stops. I don't know. It remains to be seen. Firing one executive who doesn't seem like he was really doing that much. That being said, please consider subscribing to That Park Place for all the news that should be fun.
Thanks for watching That Park Place News. For more information, consider checking out www.thatparkplace.com. And don't forget to subscribe, share, like, and send this out on your favorite social media accounts.